Hello and welcome to Charch Chat. I'm Paul Charchian from LeagueSafe.com. Thanks for joining us here at Open Sports. Today I want to talk about playoff fantasy football. I love playoff fantasy football because, if you had a bad season, it's a chance at redemption. If you've had a good season, it's an opportunity to extend the fun. And a couple of different ways you can play. And I want to talk about two main ways that I think work really well. And it really depends on whether or not you've got exactly 6 teams or not. If you've got exactly 6 teams, I've got one way to play. If not, let's talk about how you can play with an odd number of teams. In both cases, you're not going to be playing head-to-head matchups. The way it's going to work if you've got any other number than 6, I believe, is you put together a roster with exactly 12 players. That means we're talking about 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 2 kickers, and 1 team defense. So at least that's how I would structure it. You can do it however you like, but you want to have exactly 12. There are exactly 12 teams in the NFL playoffs, so you can see where this is going. You allow everybody to take 1 player from each team, and there are no other rules involved. They can take anybody they want. Now, you may be tempted to think, great, everybody's going to take, let's say, Peyton Manning, right? Who I think is a very attractive player because the Colts could go to the Super Bowl and they play a bye week. That means you could get a lot of games out of Peyton Manning. But you know what? What you'll find is that people feel the need to differentiate their teams a little bit, and they don't want to have just sort of a chalk team. They don't want to have an obvious team, and so you don't have to worry about that as much as you think. And just through the natural selection process, you're going to have a wide variation of teams. And sure, everybody could pick the same players, but they won't. So yeah, 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a couple of kickers, 1 tight end, 1 team defense, how I like to play. Then there's no bench. Everybody scores points every week that they're playing. When you get knocked out, obviously you get no points for those weeks. And there's no head-to-head between this. You just total up all the points. Whoever's got the most points at the end wins. Done. Okay, let's say you've got exactly 6 players. This, to me, is the ideal format. Now you're holding a real draft. And the reason 6 is important is because there are 12 NFL playoff teams. That means you can have 2 of all the key positions on each of your fantasy rosters. That means everybody gets 2 quarterbacks, 2 quarterbacks, 2 team kickers, 2 team defense, and then you can have as many running backs, receivers, tight ends as you want. It could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4. It just depends on how long you want your draft to go. And again, like the other description, everybody plays all the time. There's no bench, there's no head-to-head. You're just totaling up points. Here you're going to have a real draft, and so you're going to take turns drafting. It's serpentine, just like your regular draft, and that's perfectly fine. Now, in the case for both formats, some things to keep in mind that can help this be a little extra fun. First, I mentioned use team quarterback, team kicker, team defense. There are no drops and adds of any kind, so you need to have team going for all of those in the eventuality that a starter gets hurt. Next, here's a great opportunity to test drive some of the scoring system changes you're thinking about for next year. People complaining about, oh, they don't like team defense this, they don't like the way the kicker scoring is that. Here's a chance to try it, test drive it, see if you like the results in a real situation where it's not hypothetical, and you can really get a good leg up on next year's fantasy season. Try a PPR league, try a distance scoring league that gives bonus points for long touchdowns, a yardage league. Maybe you've been really touchdown heavy and you're interested to see what it's like if you give 1 point for every 10 yards rushing. Here's an opportunity to try it. And lastly, try the auction. I was just talking about the draft. Beautiful chance to try the auction. I love the auction. I auction in every league that I can ever auction in. It's absolutely the way to go. If you've got some owners that are scared about the auction, this is a great way for them to stick their toe in the water and they won't go back. All right, so there you go. Everything you need to know to get a playoff fantasy football league started. I'll be back later this week with some strategy tips and even some player rankings to help you get rolling for playoff fantasy football. Thanks for joining us here at Open Sports. If you have any questions for our fantasy sports department, give us an email at fantasy@opensports.com.
Think you can complete the drive? Play today and get an automatic entry to win daily prizes, 2 tickets to the big game, and a brand new car. Start your drive today at opensports.com.